Egypt. A dying man lies on a bed, surrounded by his 12 sons. He has lived 147 years. He has wrestled with God and been renamed Israel. He has buried a wife on a dusty road, mourned a son he believed was dead, and wept with joy when that son returned. He has known famine, exile, and grace that outlasted both. Now, at last, he is ready to go. But before he does, he has something to say. What follows in Genesis chapter 49 is one of the most extraordinary passages in all of Scripture. A father's final words to his 12 sons, ranging from raw rebuke to astonishing promise, from stark warning to breathtaking wonder. Some sons receive blessings so rich they almost defy description. Others receive words so sharp they sound more like curses than comfort. And buried in the middle of it all is a single statement about one son, Judah, that theologians have studied for 3,000 years because it appears to point directly toward a coming king who would change the course of human history. This is the story of Jacob's last words. To understand what is happening in Genesis 49, we need to know who Jacob is and where his family has come from. Jacob is the grandson of Abraham and the son of Isaac. God appeared to him, wrestled with him at the Jabbok River, and gave him a new name, Israel, meaning one who strives with God. His 12 sons are not merely a family. They are the founders of the 12 tribes that will bear his name throughout history. The family is in Egypt because of a famine. They came seeking grain and stayed because one of Jacob's sons, Joseph, had risen to become second in command to Pharaoh himself. Preserved by God for exactly this moment. Now Jacob is dying. He has already given instructions about his burial in Canaan. He has already blessed his grandsons Ephraim and Manasseh in the previous chapter. But what happens in chapter 49 is different in kind. Gather together, Jacob says to his sons, so I can tell you what will happen to you in the days to come. This is not simply fatherly advice. In the ancient world, a patriarch's deathbed declaration was binding, legally weighty, and spiritually significant. It shaped inheritance, identity, and destiny for generations. Jacob does not speak uniformly. He speaks personally, individually, pointedly, and he begins with his oldest son. Reuben was Jacob's firstborn. In the ancient world, that position carried everything: double inheritance, family leadership, and the honored place in the line of blessing. You are my firstborn, my might, the first sign of my vigor, excelling in honor, excelling in power. It begins as a tribute, then the weight shifts. But you will no longer excel, for you went up onto your father's bed and defiled it. This refers to Genesis 35, when Reuben slept with Bilhah, his father's concubine. It was a transgression Jacob never forgot, and here, on his deathbed, he addresses it plainly. The preeminence Reuben held by birth will pass elsewhere. Next comes Simeon and Levi, the second and third sons. Jacob addresses them together, which is significant in itself. Instruments of violence are their swords, he says. He recalls the massacre at Shechem in Genesis 34, when these two brothers slaughtered an entire city in revenge for the assault of their sister Dinah. A revenge so extreme it horrified even their father. Their anger is fierce, their wrath is cruel. I will divide them in Jacob and scatter them in Israel. But here the text becomes fascinating. This single prophetic word produced completely different outcomes in the two tribes. Simeon's tribe gradually merged into Judah and largely disappeared as a distinct entity. The Levites, however, though equally scattered, were distributed across Israel not as punishment but as priests. The tribe without territory became the tribe that served the whole nation. The same prophetic word, radically different destinations. Now Jacob comes to his fourth son, and everything in the room changes. Judah, your brothers will praise you. Your hand will be on the neck of your enemies. Your father's sons will bow down to you. This is remarkable. Judah is not the firstborn. He is the fourth son, and yet Jacob speaks over him with the language of rulership and preeminence that Reuben has just forfeited. Judah is a lion's cub. From the prey, my son, you have gone up. He crouches, he lies down like a lion. and like a lioness, who dares rouse him? In the ancient Near East, the lion was the supreme symbol of royalty. Kings were carved beside lions. Thrones rested on lion pedestals. The Lion of Judah would become one of the most enduring titles in all of Scripture, appearing centuries later in the book of Revelation, where Jesus is called the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David. But then Jacob says the most discussed single line in the entire passage. The scepter will not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until Shiloh comes, and to him shall be the obedience of the nations. That word, Shiloh, has generated centuries of debate. It is one of the most disputed terms in the entire Hebrew Bible. Three major interpretations have shaped the discussion. The first takes Shiloh as the name of the town in Canaan where the tabernacle was eventually established, a geographic anchor for the tribal promise. The second, and today the most widely supported reading, understands Shiloh as a Hebrew phrase meaning, to whom it belongs, or the one whose right it is. The scepter remains with Judah until the rightful owner comes to claim it. This reading aligns powerfully with Ezekiel 21 verse 27, where God declares of Israel's crown, "It shall not be restored until he comes whose right it is." The third connects Shiloh with the Hebrew root for peace, the peaceful one, linking it to the title Prince of Peace given in Isaiah 9. What every serious interpretation shares is this: the text is forward-pointing. It is expectant. It is waiting for someone who is not yet on stage. And this prophecy unfolds across centuries in a clear, traceable arc. David, Israel's greatest king, came from the tribe of Judah. The entire royal line descended through this tribe. And when the New Testament opens, it begins with a genealogy, tracing a lineage from Abraham through Judah and David down to a carpenter's son born in Bethlehem. The ancient rabbis read Shiloh as a messianic title. The Aramaic Targums consistently render this verse, until the Messiah comes. The early church, reading through the resurrection, saw in Jesus of Nazareth the one Jacob had pointed toward from his deathbed in Egypt. The thread that begins in Genesis 49 does not break. It runs uninterrupted from this room in Egypt to an empty tomb outside Jerusalem. Jacob continues through his remaining sons with a remarkable variety of tones and images. Zebulun will dwell by the sea, a harbor for ships, his territory facing towards Sidon. This maritime destiny matched the tribe's eventual location in northern Israel along the coastal plain. Issachar is compared to a strong donkey crouching between the saddlebags, a people who loved their fertile land enough to labor hard for it. Some scholars read this as noble perseverance, others as a warning against trading freedom for comfort. Dan will judge his people, a serpent in the road that bites the horse's heels. The tribe of Dan had a complicated history, later associated with unauthorized worship and notably absent from certain genealogical lists in Scripture. Then Jacob pauses. In the middle of prophesying, he suddenly stops and prays. "I wait for your salvation, O Lord." It is one of the most personally moving interruptions in the entire Bible. Behind the formal patriarchal declarations is a father, and behind the father is a man who has spent his entire life learning, slowly and painfully, to depend entirely on the one who makes promises and keeps them. One sentence, then he resumes. Gad will be raided, but he will raid in return, a tough, resilient tribe east of the Jordan who gave as hard as they received. Asher's bread will be rich. He will yield royal delicacies. This tribe settled along the fertile northern coast, and the image proved accurate for centuries. Naphtali is a doe set free who speaks beautiful words, poetic, swift, and graceful in both movement and language. Then Jacob comes to Joseph, and the blessing overflows. Joseph receives one of the longest, most layered blessings in the chapter. He is a fruitful bough by a spring, branches overflowing its walls, but his bough remains strong. Why? Because the arms of his hands were made firm by the mighty one of Jacob. And then Jacob piles up divine names in a rapid, almost breathless cascade. The God of your father who helps you, the Almighty who blesses you, blessings of heaven above, blessings of the deep, blessings of the breast and of the womb. Joseph's blessing is a portrait of every grace Jacob has known from God, poured out over the son who embodied them most visibly. Finally, last, Benjamin. Benjamin is the youngest. His mother Rachel died, giving birth to him on a road between Bethlehem and Jerusalem. And Jacob's word over him is brief and fierce. Benjamin is a ravenous wolf, devouring prey in the morning, dividing spoil in the evening. Warrior imagery. The tribe of Benjamin became famous for its fierce fighters. Saul, Israel's first king, came from the tribe of Benjamin. And one more, the Apostle Paul, who introduced himself as of the tribe of Benjamin, once a persecutor of the church, then a lion of a completely different kind. When we step back and look at all 12 pronouncements as a whole, several things become clear. First, Jacob's words are not flattering speeches. They are truthful assessments. Jacob sees his sons, their character, their histories, their failures, their gifts, and he speaks into what is actually there. There is no performance here, no polite departure. Second, these are not words only about individuals. They are words about tribes, about a future spanning centuries beyond any of the men in that room. In the ancient world, a patriarch's declaration over his son was a declaration over all who descended from him. Third, and most significantly, the entire passage is oriented toward something still ahead. Reuben's loss points toward Judah's gain. Judah's gain points toward Shiloh. Shiloh points toward a king. And that king, the one described as the lion who will reign until the nations bow before him, is not yet fully named in Genesis 49. He is promised. He is anticipated. He is the unseen center around which the whole prophecy turns. Christian interpreters across 2,000 years have read this passage as pointing forward with remarkable consistency. Jewish tradition maintained its messianic weight long before the New Testament. The expectation was clear. Out of Judah, a ruler would come whose reign would be final, and whose authority would extend to all the nations. Genesis 49 is not a list of tribal forecasts. It is a window into how God works through history, not around human failure and complexity, but through it. Reuben's moral collapse, Simeon and Levi's uncontrolled rage, Jacob's grief, Joseph's long suffering, all of it folds into a story whose final chapter had already been written before any of them drew breath. Whatever you carry from your family, whatever mix of blessing and wound has been spoken over you, the God of Genesis 49 is still weaving and still keeping promises that outlast the generations. The scepter of Judah has not departed. The Lion has come, and in him, the obedience of the nations has begun. Today, we close the Genesis episode, and in our next episode, we will see Moses' life from a quite different perspective, which most people haven't heard. You are kindly invited to the next episode.